Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Adam Dorsey, a psychologist in Silicon Valley, and I am the host of Super Psyched, a podcast dedicated to supercharging your life. Each episode contains fun, high-quality interviews with experts looking at psychology from all angles. Super Psyched is your tool to get more of what you want in your life and less of what you don't. There are lots of misconceptions about forgiveness. What is it and what is it not? Why is forgiveness an important skill and how do we get good at it? And what if we believe we can't or don't want to forgive? These and many other questions will be fielded by one of the world's leading experts in the study and science of forgiveness. Dr. Frederic Luskin is a clinical psychologist and the director of the Stanford Forgiveness Project at Stanford University, where he also lectures at its School of Medicine. Fred is also the author of a best-selling book called Forgive for Good, which was heralded by Publishers Weekly as a solidly researched and convincing guide, and he teaches forgiveness all over the world. Fred has taught forgiveness in places as diverse as Northern Ireland, Sierra Leone, as well as New York City after the attacks on the World Trade Center on 9/11. So join Fred and me as we have a lively and informative conversation about how to forgive and what's in it for you if you do. Dr. Frederic Luskin, who has asked me to call him Fred, welcome to Super Psyched.
Thank you.
So, Fred, we've known each other for some time. We've worked side by side on a few projects, and I've gotten to know you personally very well. We've become friends. I've gotten to know your work very well. I love both of your books. I just read Forgiveness in Relationships. I actually listened to it on Audible, which was fantastic. I think it should be required listening for all couples. But I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the genesis. How did you get into studying and teaching forgiveness?
You know, the book you just mentioned, Forgive for Love, I wrote that as a consequence of a really difficult time in my marriage. So my wife and I were really struggling over a number of things. We had been married for quite a while. And it was my way of recommitting to the relationship. And I can't, it's a while ago, but I remember thinking, I'm not thinking this through very well. I just remember that and thinking, I'm probably going to have to. It wasn't that I had a deep grudge, but I didn't have enough of a general sense of, I forgive you. I open to your flaws. And so that book came literally for the benefit of my relationship.
Wow.
More generally, I started to teach forgiveness because I couldn't do it.
It's brilliant. And, let's just talk about the anatomy of forgiveness. There are so many misconceptions about forgiveness. What is forgiveness and what is it not?
I mean, I don't fully know what it is. And it's the same as trying to describe what love is. I mean, these are qualities that are deeper than our conceptual ability to massage them. But it's some capacity to allow life to disappoint us without needing to punish life or the parts of life that we think are guilty of that disappointment. It's allowing the flow of life, which includes suffering, to exist without hating it. And so forgiveness is a very deep and subtle art. And that capacity of, you may have lied to me. Okay. When you own that suffering is inherent in this life and that people are going to disappoint you, when you make some degree of peace with that and recognize that that's a part of this lived experience, then you lessen the need to punish and to hurt and to blame. So forgiveness is that process by which you go from anger and blame and hurt, and you unravel it so that you're left back at peace. That's the inner experience of forgiveness. That's different than reconciling with someone, which is repairing a relationship. That's different than maybe going to court to make sure they pay their child support. That's justice. And forgiveness does not condone bad behavior. That's a different quality.
I think that's maybe the most important feature of it, and the what part that felt so revolutionary to me when I was learning it from you, that it does not condone, it doesn't say that, hey, what you did was okay. What they did might not have been okay at all. And yet,
not okay at all.
So can you speak to that, the idea that maybe what they did was not okay, and it's not saying it was okay or subsidizing it in that manner. What is it instead? A skill like throwing a baseball you've mentioned before, that we can get better at doing it, and that it's ultimately a gift to ourselves. I was wondering if you could kind of riff on that idea, because I've heard you say it and I love that.
It's not just a gift to yourself. It's one of the gifts we give to the world. We all have some responsibility to this world to try to create a more peaceful world. But if you walk around like disliking your partner for X, Y, and Z, and blaming your mother for X, Y, and Z, and getting rattled all the time because people don't do what you want, then you're spreading the antithesis of peace, and you're creating negativity and probably some hatred. Mm. And so one of the reasons why all the religious traditions of the world include forgiveness is required for us to make our spiritual contribution to this world, which is some contribution to peace. And so even if you look at the microcosm of a marriage, say, you can't do a marriage without forgiveness. You can't, because the partner is going to disappoint you, is going to hurt you. You're going to disappoint and hurt them. Your kid's going to annoy you. You're going to annoy them. Those are the givens. The question is, do you take those givens and keep your heart open, or do you take those givens and close your heart?
Sure. And operationally, how does that look? I mean, how does one do that? Sounds very hard.
How do you do it? One, when you're upset with your partner, relax. Just take a deep breath, quiet down, say a prayer, knit, whatever it is you want to do. Take a walk, quiet down, rather than giving so much strength to the grievance that you have. When you quiet down a little, unless it's a real threatening thing, you can talk to them. Quiet down is one. Two, you could take like Byron Katie's very basic CBT practice, and you ask yourself, is it true? Do they really owe me what I think they owe me? Or is reality wrong right now? Or is it just me? So that's two. Three, you could recognize how unbelievably lucky you are to be in the life you have. So shut up a little bit about the complaints. Like, you have food, you have clothing, you have shelter, you have a mind, you're loved. Relax. And four, you can vow to yourself, I'm not going to spend the next 2 months or 2 years of my life complaining about this. So it's not that hard, but it takes a certain kind of wisdom and a certain kind of intention to heal oneself. You know, that relates to your sense of a gift to oneself. But this is an intention to heal oneself, that I want to become less critical. Mm-hmm. I want to be less reactive. I want to be more able to be a generative person. So I have to heal this in me.
Yeah, so perhaps not a gift to oneself as much as it is a commitment to our better angels, so to speak.
That's it. Yeah, okay. That's it. That's exactly it.
Yeah, and what are some of the health benefits you've noticed tend to accompany forgiveness?
I mean, the simplest way for anybody to make that clear, and you and I have done this together, but if you just, while you're sitting there, like just for a second, like think of somebody you love.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have to close your eyes, but I mean, it's great. But just think of someone you love.
Yeah.
And if you picture or think of someone love, you calm down.
It immediately kind of arrests that.
Forgiveness exists in that space.
Mm-hmm. So we might be aroused temporarily, but by thinking about somebody we love, it brings down the arousal and allows us to get perhaps out of that. But
it also, it gives you entree to what you would be like if you were a forgiving person.
Mm-hmm.
You would have access to that space of low blood pressure, nervous system harmonization, less muscle tension, fewer immune dysregularities. You have access to that. If I asked you to do the opposite, which I don't need to, but you can, if I said just picture somebody you're pissed with, and you'd see your whole nervous system going bananas.
Sure.
One other thing, Adam, if you're honest, and this is the biggest obstacle to a destructive anger removal, and you see it in so many social things, like I'm angry about this, I'm angry about that. When you're angry about something, the only reason you're angry about it is because you don't have a better solution. Anger is instead of a more efficient solution.
Yep.
So let's just say, I'm angry about a disease and I want to wipe it out.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great inspiration to do something.
Sure.
But if you stay angry about that disease for 5 years, the anger in itself has nothing to do with it. And you would have to lessen that anger so you could make good decisions about what to do to help wipe out that disease.
Sure.
But because anger gives us a false sense of power, we don't like to look at the helplessness and vulnerability that are driving that anger.
Right. That's a really good point. The helplessness is really a hard place for us to sit. I'm wondering, just a bit of a pivot. You mentioned that you got into this because forgiveness was hard for you. And I'm wondering, what if a person doesn't want to forgive or believes they can't forgive?
When I got stuck starting this, I didn't even have forgiveness on my radar. It was way before any conversation like that.
And yet I imagine that somebody listening might be thinking, I actually don't want to do this. I don't want to forgive. I believe I can't.
The really important question is the Dr. Phil question.
Sure.
That's the really important question. So if somebody tells you they can't forgive, that's fine. But how is the alternative working? So is not speaking to your neighbor, is that working for your, sense of safety and security and peacefulness? Is being afraid to go into work because you have an awful coworker, is that helping you?
Right.
So the question is not theoretically, what do you think of forgiveness? The question is right here and now, the solutions that you're working on, how are they working for you? And that is so different than you have to forgive. I need you to forgive. It's a moral imperative. Forgive. Those are all silly. The question is the repetition of the grudge helping you?
Right. For many Jewish people, this is a time of year. This is now being recorded in September of 2020, around the New Year for Judaism. And a lot of people ask for forgiveness around this time of year in the Jewish tradition. it's the number one thing that we're supposed to do is to ask our fellow human whom we may have wronged for forgiveness. How does one ask for forgiveness?
I think the really important part is not the asking for forgiveness, but the authenticity and humility of recognizing that we need it. The asking is trivial because it doesn't really matter whether they give it to you. I mean, it would be nice if we did. But the really deep quality that makes us better human beings is the capacity to look inside of ourselves and see that we have done wrong.
Yeah.
And to be honest about it. And to be honest about it requires a kind of humility that is lacking in most of us. So those qualities are really essential to cultivate, because when you have a fight with somebody, and that quality of humility and authenticity may allow you sooner to say, I'm sorry. You know, I know that the Jewish religion is in large part designed to help people get along with each other and make peace with each other and do right by each other. So, you know, asking for forgiveness in one day a year doesn't really mean very much. But if it triggers the inner awareness of my own flawed nature and the interdependent need of human beings to forgive each other, then that is really powerful and will lead to a better functioning community.
Mm.
The only caveat that I have for like asking for forgiveness is that you have to, you have to accept that they may say no.
Yep.
And so that requires even another level of humility. You know, it's like, here I go out of my way to let you off the hook, you bum, for doing what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm both humble and great. And then you say no.
Right. Could happen.
So that's unforgivable. But that's the tough part about that task is often people don't necessarily believe that they did wrong or that they owe you anything. And so you have to ask for it in a true sense of asking, because it's coming from here.
From the heart.
It's not to capture something from them.
So it's almost like you're saying it's nearly less about the act of asking and more about the spirit with which one asks for forgiveness, the recognition, the internal kind of inventory, checking in and being really intentional about that and humble, as you mentioned, which I think is very good advice.
But isn't that true for so much of human experience?
Absolutely.
And that's why you read in O magazine like 6 steps to this and 4 steps to this. They rarely work because it's a vibrational thing. It's an intention thing. It's not a stepwise practice thing.
So this may be a little abstract or even ethereal to some of the listeners. And I'm wondering if there's a prompt that one could give oneself to get more likely into that space. I realize everyone is going to have a different internal prompt, but what are some prompts that might allow you to access your humility and your intention?
I think that's I love that question. What I would say is somewhere in our goal setting, we need to have character goals. We're in a culture that teaches acquisition goals, competition goals, achievement goals, monetary goals. But we're not in a culture that teaches enough of character goals.
And like working on the soul.
So when one of the things that you would have to ask yourself before you could remind yourself is, what piece of character or behavior or development matters to me.
Mm.
So is it that I want to preserve relationship? So if that's your goal, then that's something you could remind yourself. But there's no external reminder that I could give that would substitute for all the different goals that people have. So I know for myself, I'm going to say 30 years ago now, a number of people, and my wife in particular, and a couple people, they started pushing back on like my New York edginess.
Yeah, sure.
That I was too sarcastic. And my wife would tell me that I embarrassed her. I took you to public and you said this, that, and the other thing. And I got enough feedback that I recognized that I needed to put as a character goal for myself a little more kindness.
Sure.
I was probably 40 years of age. So kindness then helped motivate me. If you're asking me what would be the easiest goal for people to remember in our culture, it's probably personal happiness. But it's a self-absorbed culture. So personal happiness would be a motivator or a reminder that if somebody does something I don't like and I spend a week or an hour ruminating, I'm not going to be happy.
Right. It's not going to work for me.
So but everybody's got to find their own motivation, which is why a lot of these self-help things simply don't work.
Well, I want to propose two that just came to me as you were talking. The first one was really tapping into the fact that the relationship itself is important. And then the second thing I would wonder is really tapping in deeply, empathically. Gosh, what might it have felt like when I did this thing to the other person? And really, really feeling into our imagination of what the other person might have experienced. Those are the two places I go in terms of prompts to step into asking for forgiveness. What do you think of those?
I think they're great, and I think you're spot on. One of the practices that I love best is the Hawaiian Ho'oponopono practice.
Talk about that. I love that one too.
Where it's about, I remember how I hurt someone else. And then I think to myself, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me and thank you. And that practice creates humility. But the key piece of the Hawaiian practice is the thank you. And what they're thanking is not that the person did something wrong, but that they're in relationship with you.
And it's the asker who says the thank you part. I ask for forgiveness and I thank you. I think that's so powerful.
Because I'm in relationship with you and I'm thanking you for the relationship.
Totally.
Where this can take place.
Like what could be more powerful or more important than this?
And that's what came to my mind when you said what you said. Because Adam, I mean, you and I know we've been at this business a long time. There's like surface insight, but then there's deeper insight that if is also not cultivated, the surface insights they flitter away.
Short half-life.
Yeah, that's a wonderful way of putting it.
And I love the idea of really feeling it in the visceral sense, not just kind of superficial. And just a side note, Peter McKenna, who's one of my all-time favorite singer-songwriters, actually wrote a song with that title, with the exact lyrics matching the apology technique used by the Hawaiians. Even his last name, he comes out of Hawaii, McKenna Beach. But what an amazing musician, and what a great reminder of that ancient tradition, and how we are really also alike in terms of aspiring to truly value the I and thou relationship talked about by someone like Martin Buber, versus an I and it, treating people as if they are holy rather than just an object. And I think that's brilliant.
You just encapsulated in a couple of sentences what I've spent 20 minutes trying to say.
What an honor. Thank you. I love that. So, this one might be a toughie. That I'm about to ask you. Is there any advice you could give to a person being asked for forgiveness? So the recipient, what could they do?
Well, one, you have to ask yourself, have I grieved whatever it is that I've done or they've done? And I would say you should wait to offer forgiveness till after you've experienced it and grieved it.
So good.
So you don't want to rush forgiveness. So if somebody, how do I put this? Somebody cheats on their partner.
Oof.
And then 2 weeks later, the partner says, well, will you forgive me for cheating? The answer is no. No.
Not there yet.
I haven't had time to deal with it. If 2 years goes by, then the partner has every right to say, hey, you've grieved this enough. And I'm not saying there's a specific timeline, but the first and most important thing, have I taken the time and space to feel my suffering, to acknowledge both the wrongness of their action and my vulnerability?
So there's something about self-respect.
That not only,
as you say this, I hear
what's that?
So much. I hear that not only respect for the other, but respect for the self. Really respect that this may take some time to grieve. Really, the self-compassion of recognizing that grieving takes time.
Well, and the self-compassion is important, but even more critical is an awareness that they have to do something and I have to receive it. Like their doing something was not the only cause of this. I received it, and through some experience of mine, turned what they did into this wound or into this problem. It's not just in their behavior. So there's an honoring of their frailty, failure, inconsideration, or evil, and my own vulnerability, my own susceptibility to be hurt, which has to be nourished. It's not something that can be rushed through.
I'm thinking.
So when
I'm sorry. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
But as you say this, I'm thinking about the idea. I mean, what you're kind of speaking about is, but if I forgive, might I be at risk that it will happen again? If I forgive, have I not taught the other person a lesson that they cannot mess with me or cheat on me or do any of those things? I imagine that thought can really show up in a lot of people, that forgiveness would be tantamount to making yourself more vulnerable to another attack or another insult, injury.
When we were teaching a lot, Adam, one of the most poignant things that would come up is, I would say to people, all of you were here because somebody harmed you.
Mm.
And you could make perfect peace with them, walk out the door, and get harmed again. Like the world doesn't stop. And forgiveness allows us not to protect ourselves, but to know that we can flow and recover and be resilient when hurt. And that's when you feel really strong, is when you trust yourself not when you've stopped the world, so to speak, from harming you.
Can you say more about that self-trust?
It's a much... What's that?
Can you say more about that self-trust, with trusting ourselves?
Well, let me give you a simple example.
Sure. Please.
Maybe not so simple.
Okay.
People all the time would say, how can I ever trust them again? And I would say, you can't. But you can learn to trust you. I said, what does that mean? Like, they lied to me. I said, yeah, they may lie again. But then I can't trust them. And I'd say, well, you can trust them, but you can't trust what you want to trust, which is that they'll always do what you want them to do. What you can trust is they'll do what they want to do. The trust you need to develop is your capacity to, one, make good choices about the people that you want to spend time with, but two, trust that you have the strength to stay in relationship, even though it may be hard sometimes, that you're strong enough to both be hurt and recover. So you trust you. And then you're not as afraid of what they'll do.
That you trust the strength of your own integrity, your character, and know that is solid, irrespective of what the other does.
Right. And you look at somebody like the Dalai Lama who has no fear. It's not that he thinks that the Chinese are going to be nice to his people. It's that he knows inside he's free.
That this is not superficial work, folks.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
It's deep existential work, and it's also how you, like, let me give the simplest example I can. And I love this example. You have a 6-year-old kid who, no matter how many times you tell him to put his bicycle away, every time you come home from work, the bike is waiting right at the front door when you walk in. And one day you're distracted. Think to yourself, I hope the little you-know-what has put the bike away. But you're not paying attention. You walk in the front door. You trip over the bike. You fall. You land. You hurt your arm. How much do you scream at your 6-year-old?
Yeah.
That's the existential forgiveness question.
Wow. So let's hear the question. Just the example itself implies the question.
Well, but that localizes everything into that one. He's 6.
He's 6. That's what they do.
That's what they do. Human beings, they misbehave. That's what they do.
Totally.
Have you prepared yourself properly to handle it? If you want to scream at your kid, probably not. That's 2. And 3, those are the tests of your humanity. When you fall because you weren't paying attention and your kid needs some serious lessons and follow through. I hope you see what I'm saying. That's such an obvious example that can happen to everybody. But it's such a perfect encapsulation of how do human beings react when they're harmed.
It's a great example. And instead, what's the alternate dance step? How do we arrest that cycle of inflammation?
Right.
I guess it goes back to the breathing and the just reminding yourself, kind of checking yourself before you wreck yourself in the process.
And 2 other things, Adam. One is so many parents will beat their kids.
So sad. Tragic.
So you look at so much violence coming because of unforgiveness, so much violence. And second, like anything else good that we develop, we have to practice. So you understand, like you get what you practice.
You get what you practice.
The best lesson from you come in maybe the kid not only has the bicycle there, but he has his skateboard there too.
And a ball.
Yeah.
If you're in my house. Totally.
The kid's escalating.
Totally.
But the question for you as you fall is, what have I practiced? So who am I going to be at this moment? That's the deep question for us all. And if you scream and yell, there's nothing wrong with that. It just shows you where you are.
And I'm guessing that perhaps if you overreact, that it's our job as parents to then apologize to the child.
Got it.
Yeah, which is a really tough thing to do.
Yeah. That's it. And use it as a teaching. This gets back to the Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur question. We should be practicing this stuff all the time.
So I'm going to throw one your way before asking you my final question, because I can imagine somebody saying, to their child, Junior, I'm sorry that I yelled at you so badly when I tripped over the bicycle and skateboard and ball that you put in my way, but you shouldn't have put it there. So immediately the but or the editorializing, are there things that when you ask for forgiveness, like editorializing or inserting a but, or? I
think what you said is perfectly appropriate, that you shouldn't have put it there.
Okay, so you can do that.
Oh, yeah, that's the I'm not condoning what you did. You were wrong to put the bicycle there. We've been telling you for weeks.
And yet doesn't the but negate the apology itself? I'm sorry, but?
No, but it's not but, it's and.
Okay, so that's what I'm looking for here. It's a better conjunction, isn't it? I'm sorry, and you shouldn't have put it there.
Well, the bicycle was wrong to be there, and I was wrong to yell.
Both were wrong. I think that's
it. You were wrong. There's
and that was what I was really digging for, is the word but. And kind of unwittingly negate a beautiful apology.
Right. And let me try to bring this back around,
sure,
which is the idea of law or legal or justice. I have every right to stick you in your room.
Right.
I have every right to take away your bicycle. What I don't have is the right to scream and scare you.
I think that's great. That's great.
You see how that?
Yes, I love that so much.
The justice piece and the non-condoning piece. But you also need to feel safe in my home. And if I can't trip over a bicycle without yelling and screaming or threatening you, then you're not safe. And that's my bad.
I need to feel safe that I won't be tripping over a bicycle. And you need to feel safe that I won't yell at you.
Boy, that's really good.
Right on. So my last question for you, Fred, and I've just been loving this. If you had magical powers and could confer on all humanity skills as they related to forgiveness, what would those skills be? And what effect do you think they'd have on the individual and humanity in general?
I was teaching a class at Santa Clara, and they have a building of ethics or something. And I was wandering around the building, and there was a statement by Nelson Mandela around, not everybody can do big things for peace. I was president of my country, but everybody can do little things. And each of our responsibilities as a human being is to find out what small thing we can do for peace. So I'm walking around and I realize that one of the small things that I can do is teach forgiveness. That's one of the small things that I can do. The practices are, everybody should have some 5-minute a day mindfulness meditation practice if they want to be able to regulate themselves when they trip over a bicycle. You can't do that without some capacity of going inside and quieting yourself down. I don't think you need a half-hour mindfulness or meditation practice, but you need a 5-minute a day. I'm turning everything off.
That's so good.
Right? I'm turning everything off, and I'm finally not going to distract myself, and I'm going to bring full attention to my breath or something for 5 minutes every day. because that will be with you when you fall. So that's one. Two, you have to ask yourself every now and then, am I seeing things clearly? So if you're falling after your kid, your bicycle, and you're screaming at your kid, you're not seeing things clearly.
Right.
You may be overstressed. You may, your kid may be a really difficult kid, but you're yelling at them like they're really a threat to you. Means you're not seeing things clearly. And the last piece is, again, in order for forgiveness, you've got to make more of your speech positive. You have to speak more about what's good and beautiful and valuable and appreciated. And let's say it's about your kid. So if you yell at your kid for not putting the bike away, you want to give him 3 compliments for stuff that he's done every time that you yell at the kid. So you see things clearly and you quiet yourself down. But if you save your communication with your kid to just yelling at them,
we got trouble.
Right. So those would be the 3 things.
Those are great.
Change your speech, self-regulate, and remind yourself, I may not be seeing this clearly.
I love it. And I imagine the effect it would have on the individual and humanity is that people would be kinder, that people would be more introspective, people would be less reactive, more reflective, and
peace.
There'd be peace.
Helping to create peace.
Peace, right, locally. Well, Fred, I love your contribution to the field of psychology. I don't consider it a small contribution by any means. I consider it a massive one. And you really have filled a big missing piece in the field. I'm so grateful to you for taking time, and I'm so grateful to you for doing all that you have done to move the field forward and to bring us up a notch.
Thank you. And Adam, you're good at this, so feel good. I've been interviewed probably at least 1,000 times. So you have a nice capacity for grasping the essence and not needing to impose your view on things, but you try to shape it. So you should feel really good about your skills.
Thank you so much, Fred. That means so much coming from you.
Thank you.
All right. This is Dr. Adam Dorsey thanking you for listening to Super Psyched. If you know anyone who might like it or who might benefit from listening, share it. And if you like the episode, please hit subscribe.